Hey everyone, I'm Debbie Madden, the host of the Scaling Tech podcast. And today we're going to talk about a really fun topic. We're going to talk about how Stride Conductor compares to all of the single user GenAI code complete tools out there like Copilot, Cursor, and others. And before I introduce Rob and Steven, we always make these podcasts available for both audio and visual listening. And this one, we're going to do a lot of demoing. So if you're just listening, I would pause now and move over to YouTube where you can actually see the visuals. Really important. So with that, let's jump in. Today, I've got Rob, who is the Chief Product Officer for Stride Conductor, and Steven, who is the Chief Technology Officer for Stride Conductor. So before we compare Stride Conductor to other tools, briefly tell us, what is Stride Conductor?
Thanks, Debbie. Yeah, so Stride Conductor is our multi-agent AI tool that has specific modules that embed into Teams' software development workflow to do a couple things: reduce technical debt, accelerate delivery, improve code quality, and really decrease risk. Today, we have a series of modules. Today, we're going to narrow in and focus specifically on our testing module, which automates test creation and helps increase test coverage.
Awesome. Thanks. And, if folks want more information, we'll try to keep the podcast, tight and focus on one topic, but we could go to www.strideconductor.com where you can learn all about Conductor. But today, I really only have one question for you guys. So my job is nice and easy. And really it's a broad question because we can answer it in multiple ways, but a lot of people are using single user code gen tools like Copilot is very popular. Cursor is very popular. So kind of, walk us through how Stride Conductor is different from these tools so that folks know. And then the other thing I want us to talk about is how technology teams and technology leaders should think about using both Stride Conductor and a single user tool, because they really are kind of, Stride Conductor is meant as a team alongside, and Copilot is meant as an asset to an individual. So as you guys are jumping in, talk to us about like the toolkit and how CTOs and such should think about that.
Yeah, I think we can jump into a lot of that with the demo. But really,
Awesome.
when we talk about Stride Conductor, we think of three key differentiators between other kind of AI tools. One, it's secure. So this is not a cloud-based SaaS product. This is running in your environment. It's all local. It's using the model you choose, not model we choose. So whatever you're most comfortable with, whichever company you have agreements with, or some of our clients will host their own open source model. We can connect with all of those. So it's technology agnostic and secure to your environment. That's one. Two is it's tailored. What do we mean by tailored? Well, first, I said we're going to focus on the testing module we have. That is specialized and specific and tailored to making the best tests. Other tools like Copilot and Cursor, they can say they can do anything. They do code complete. They write code gen. We've really specialized in modules for things like testing. And the other aspect of tailoring is you can tailor it to how you like it at a team or organizational level. So what we find with clients is there's different patterns, practices, standards, and to be honest, just personal preferences of what you want your code to look like. And there is no right or wrong for these, but it's really important to get them right, because if the code that your AI tool is writing just looks and feels different than how your development team writes it, that's a big issue, right? Like, you go back and you look at code and you have an issue and you're looking and you're like, I don't really this code isn't following my patterns. That's mental overhead you don't want. And the last one is it's automated. So unlike these tools that we've been talking about, Copilot and Cursor, where you have to manually intervene and tell it and give it command after command, we're going to show you this today, and I'm going to have Steven really dig into this. With Conductor, to go from command request to tests is one command. This is just going to be, you go, it's fully automated. It has self-healing loops. You can get to a commit message or even a pull request by just running one command. Again,
Nice.
based on what you want.
Right. And then the last thing I'll kind of highlight when you were saying tailored, it's even tailored within a team. So let's say for a large enterprise with multiple teams, you could use Conductor and one team could say, this is how we want to use testing and best practices. And another team within the same org can have completely different or slightly different, or they could be the same, right? I think that's, especially for these large enterprises that we're working with, I think that's a key. Because as we know, many large, even growth scale companies do not, as much as some of us want to, not every large company has truly standard practices across the entire org. And I think that's an important call out, right?
That's right. Yeah, across
Okay.
different code bases, different languages, there's different ways you can approach this, and each team is slightly different. And obviously, tailoring at just an organizational level isn't enough. Different teams don't even work on the same code bases sometimes. So I need it the way I want it with me and my team versus this other guy in this other part of the org who does something differently. Yeah, it's tailored at the team level as well. It's a great point.
Okay. Awesome. So should we see it to
Yeah.
believe it?
So I'll keep this up, but we're gonna pass it over to Steven, who's gonna demo Copilot and adding tests using Copilot versus adding tests with Stride Conductor. And the main thing I'm gonna do, and I'm gonna ask Steven to help me here, is I'm gonna keep track of how many steps and manual interventions he needs to take with Copilot versus Conductor, right? That's the whole automated. Automated is really the big thing that we want to focus on today.
Got it.
All right, awesome. Let me share my screen. Okay. All right. So I'm going to show an example of some application development for the React Dev documentation website. So if we imagine I'm a developer working on React Dev, I go over to my project management tool and I have a story that I'm working on. I want to be able to provide feedback to a page. So there's a little pop-up that shows at the bottom of the page, and I can respond with yes, no, or maybe. And I've already started working on this. And to Debbie's point earlier, I probably use Copilot to help me build some of this out. I don't see Conductor as competitors of Copilots. We sort of really function well together. So I've already built this out, and I missed one of my acceptance criteria. I forgot to add the maybe button, but we'll come back to that. So I'm going to hop over to VS Code, and this is the component that I've written. And I want to add tests for this. And so what I would do is I would right click on my function. I would go to Copilot and I would say generate tests. And Copilot's going to write some tests for me. These are great. If I'm a junior engineer, this is going to save me. If I'm an engineer, period, this is going to save me a lot of typing. So Copilot wrote some tests for me. I think there's 5 or 6 tests here. Okay, now I'm going to run my tests and let's see what happens. Okay, I got a failure. Okay, so I go back over to my editor and I can see a few things. All right, so this isn't defined, so I'm going to go back to Copilot and I'm going to hit fix. So that's another sort of manual intervention I need to do. And all right, Copilot, I don't understand some of this, but it looks like that's working, so I'm going to hit save. And if I'm a junior engineer, at this point, I'm just sort of hoping that I can Copilot fix my way to the solution here. If I'm a more senior engineer, I think I understand what's going on here and where it failed. But I didn't write this code, so it's going to take some more time for me to look at it, especially since I have to go in and fix it. All right, so here's another issue. So I'm going to Copilot fix this. So that's another manual intervention there, and
we're at 5 manual interventions already.
All right, so that looks good. So I'm going to accept that. Great. I'll save it again, and I will run my tests again. Okay, so we got past the first error, but there's still more errors. So okay, let me fix this one again. So that's another thing I have to do.
And this is as I'm watching you, it almost seems more painful the more you try to fix things. Is that with Copilot? And that's not a knock on Copilot. Copilot's great, right? Like, and really, like, it helps, and you can learn, right, from the failures. A lot of learning to be had from things but like, it does seem that if you really like, there is a lot of back and forth and understanding, and is it really saving you time at this point, or is it kind of a toss up at this point? The more you kind of fuss with it, if you will.
Yeah, if I can just fuss with it and it gets to the point where it can give me passing tests, I'll probably just commit those tests and move on with my life. But I tried to fix the other error and it was having problems, and now I'm trying to fix this one and it wants me to change my production code, and I don't really want to do that because I know the production code is right, so I'm going to ignore that. So now I have these failing tests and next router was not mounted. Like, if I'm a senior engineer, okay, like I've run into this issue before. It's a difficult testing problem. I can probably fix this, but I can't. I have to exit out of Copilot. Copilot's not going to help me. If I'm a junior engineer, um, I might just start over. If I'm being honest, like if I don't really know what this error means, it's probably easier for me to just start over and maybe ask Copilot to try again, or just maybe use it more as an autocomplete, not a test writer. But I'm sort of stuck,
Right.
and I don't want to push this any further. It's going to take some time to debug. So let's contrast that. Yeah, go ahead, Rob.
Let's do the recap. I think I was at 14 interventions that you had to take with Copilot, and we didn't even get to passing tests that covered the scenario or the feature that we just built.
Okay.
Exactly. Yeah. So let's counter that with Conductor. So I just deleted the test that I just wrote with Copilot.
So now you're walking through the same story that you're trying to write tests for, but now you're starting from that same point, but now you're using Stride Conductor.
That's exactly right.
Okay.
And before I jump in really quickly, I just want to reiterate what Rob said at the top, which is Copilot secure. We run in your environment. It's tailored. Conductor, sorry. It's tailored. And so, I'm working on a user story. And so my test gen tool should understand what my user story is. And so I've copy and pasted my user story into here so Conductor can have it. We also integrate with project management tools. Like Rob said, every team thinks about testing a little bit differently. And so I can use natural language to describe how I think about testing and testing guidelines. And then it's automated.
Hey, Stephen, before we get into the next piece of the demo that's going to automate it. So those tailored testing guidelines that you just showed us, if I'm a head of tech or head of product, how does that work? Do I set those up myself? Will you help me with that? Like, how long does that take? Like, how long does that tailoring take?
Yeah. So Conductor comes out of the box with testing guidelines for various different languages, but there is no right or wrong answer here. So our guidelines might not be exactly what your team's guidelines are, and so we typically work with our clients up front to help them create these testing guidelines. But this is a living document, and the great thing about it being natural English is as patterns and things change within teams, they can come in here and change them themselves. So,
and that's only for them. No one else in the whole world's going to see that, right? This living document is only for them. Okay, great.
That's right.
All right, let's see how a test goes.
All right, so that's tailored and it's automated. With a single command, Conductor is smart enough to know where in the code base to look for it, given my user story. And just like that, in a couple of seconds, I have 2 skip tests and 7 passing tests. So let's pop that open.
What was the number of interactions there to get to those tests?
I think just one.
Just one. You just wrote Conductor test builder. All right, so 14 versus 1. Let's see the tests.
Yeah.
So this is what Copilot was sort of missing before. It wasn't able to mock use router specifically, but I have some tests here. They're all passing. We just saw that. And I have, what are these 2 skip tests? Oh, well, of course. Conductor's smart enough to understand, because it has context of my user story, that I missed 2 acceptance criteria. And it created skip tests for me that showcase that the missed acceptance criteria. And why a skip test? Well, because that's what I told Conductor to do in my testing guidelines. If instead of a skip test, if I wanted a failing test, for example, I could change my testing guidelines to show that. Cool. But Conductor, in just one interaction, in a couple of seconds, I have passing tests. And because it has context of my user story, it caught behavior that I forgot in my implementation.
That's cool.
What would you do next here, Stephen, as a developer?
I'd commit this. I'd create a commit message. I could ask Conductor. I could have asked Conductor to write a commit message for me, but I'd create a commit message, push up a PR. Like you said, Conductor can also make PRs for you, and then move on to the next story. I'm done.
That's awesome. I have a couple of questions, but thank you guys for sharing that. I really like, seeing is believing. I think not only for us, but for lots of people out there, as generative AI is moving so fast. I think it's really important to just take a minute and slow down a little bit, right? Not everything is a 30-second conversation. And so this, I think, has been really important. I have a couple of last conversation questions for you guys, but is there anything else you want to share about what we've just seen before I kind of jump in with a couple last questions?
Going to hammer home the messaging, right? Tailored, secured, and automated. With one command, Stephen was able to use our multi-agent approach to handle all of those manual interventions that he had to handle with Copilot, and he didn't even get to the end result.
Right.
And that's because of the secret there of that automation is the multi-agent framework and our focus on testing. Copilot is not specialized in testing.
Yeah.
So it doesn't think to run the tests, iterate on the tests, and know how to handle these edge cases that are specific to testing. We've done that. We've automated it and we've tailored it.
Yeah, love that. Okay, appreciate that. And now, so my last question is: when I speak with folks are usually either a software engineer or a head of technology or a product manager or a head of product. Sometimes founders and CEOs as well. They always say, "Well, how about this case? How about this case? What about this code base? Right? Can you handle this code base? Can you handle translating from one tech stack to another, translating from English to Spanish? Like, oh, can you handle my use case?" And I think what we found is the most impactful way for that question to be answered, but I just want to confirm with you guys, is where we kind of do what we're calling a live demo with folks where we use Conductor on our code bases, but we do it just like we've done it with a screen share, and then folks can verbally field their questions, and we can type it in so they can see the power of it for their use cases. Is that still where we're thinking? And then or is there a better way for folks to really see how this can work for their use cases?
Yeah, I think for testing, for say, hey, I want to add tests to this, but will this work for my code base? I think there's a couple of things. So we've specialized Conductor and the testing module for Java, JavaScript, TypeScript, and Python.
Okay.
It will work in other languages,
Okay.
but we have specialized it, and we're very that's where it's really, really good. We're going to keep adding languages over time. So if you have those languages, what we actually like to do is go a step further. We don't want to demo it. We want to go get on a call with you, set up Conductor, give you Conductor, let you install it on your machine, and have you use Conductor on your code base during that call. There's some prerequisites that we would need to align with you on, but yeah, it's packaged up. We send it to you, you install it, we sit there, walk you through it, and in an hour, you should be able to add tests to your code base with Conductor.
That's cool.
To see it really work.
I mean, honestly, if you have a code base that's not one of those, it would be great to push the boundaries in other languages as well, right? Just to see, right? Oh, yeah. And then the users can see with their own eyeballs what we mean by how it can work for their environment, whether it's those languages or not, right?
Yep, that's right.
And this is something that now, can folks, if they want to do that, can they do that via the Stride Conductor website, or should they reach out to you directly?
Yeah, I think the first step would be to either book a demo on the Stride Conductor website or to reach out to us directly. We can do either. I think we should have that initial call, kind of get context on what you're looking at and what you're working on, and then make sure that's good. Yeah.
Yeah,
and get to know each other before we jump into the kind of workshop.
Got it. Awesome. All right, this has been super helpful, even for me. And I've seen this product before, but every time I see it, I learn something new. So really appreciate you guys showcasing us Stride Conductor. I just want to end by saying, I really view generative AI plus agile plus humans. It's a whole toolkit that involves us mortals, and agile practices have been around for decades, and now all of these new generative AI tools. No technology team has one human being, nor one agile practice, nor one Gen AI tool, right? It's all about finding the ones that work best for you. So I really appreciate this peek under the hood so we can really kind of see how Conductor can fit in as part of that toolkit. And then, for anyone watching, if you want to learn more, feel free to reach out, and info will be in the notes of the show and all that good stuff. And thank you, Stephen. Thank you, Rob. Appreciate it.
Thank you,
Debbie.